I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds. Oh, it's good. It looks like everyone's coming over now. So thanks everyone for joining. Welcome to the Ealing Mental Health Forum. So it looks like most people, if we can still put our names and where we're from in a chat, that would be great. And let's get cracking. So first of all on the agenda, we've got Rachel from Mind, and she's going to tell us about the new directory listings, which I sent around with the minutes, well, with the follow-up from the last meeting. So I expect you've all had a quick look. I did and thought it was great. So yeah, over to you, Rachel.
Perfect. Thank you, Toby. So hi, everyone. I'll apologise to Hayley because I think she's heard me go through the directory numerous times. So apologies in advance if you've already been at one of the other forums. So I'm one of the service managers at Hammersmith Fulham, Ealing and Hounslow Mind. And this is a slightly different project that we've been working on and we have successfully launched. So it's quite exciting to come and tell you about it today. So what we've done is we've developed a signposting website in partnership with West London Trust. And this website covers Hammersmith Fulham, Ealing and Hounslow. So our first phase is all the mental health services that support in the area. We have listed them, or we're sort of in the process of getting the rest on. And the second phase of the directory will be to have the physical health services listed as well. What we're finding already is there's quite a big crossover. So there are already some physical health services on there because they intertwine so much. So that second phase has been brought forward slightly into June, just to make sure that we're capturing everyone who wants to be listed on it. A bit more context about the directory. So originally we started with a service user engagement survey just to get some feedback from our service users about what they would like to see out of the directory, how they would like to use it, what fields they would like to have listed there. And then what we did is we put sort of a prototype together and we worked with a professionals group who would be signposting service users. And apologies in advance, but I've got a puppy who makes a few strange noises. So if you hear a few howls in the background, please don't worry. And then what we did is we have a service user engagement group who came together, and we had a live working version of the website. We all went through the website. They kind of showed us what they liked, what they didn't like, what things weren't really working, colors, things like that. Sorry. And things like that. So yes, so we had them come together, and then that kind of produced the final version of the website, which I'm going to share my screen and just show you around a bit as well. So it took quite a while to come together, and it's still a work in progress. So I'd encourage everyone to get in touch with us if you see a service there that's not listed that you think should be listed. If you see something that's not quite right or something that's not navigating properly, please do let us know. So far, we've had some great feedback, and it's been great that people are using the website, and we just hope it continues like that. And we hope it really helps everyone get rid of those paper directories and the different systems that people are using. So it's kind of one place. I'm just going to share my screen. So hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I don't know why it's come. Let me just decrease it a bit. So it's a live website. You can join it yourself. I popped the link in the chat afterwards. So you can search for different things, maybe peer support groups, something like that, or you can search in local sort of area. And we have the Wellbeing West London logo, and that's kind of the map of Hammersmith, Fulham, Ealing and Hounslow there. We have different languages, so you can click on this button and find different filtered languages, so different people can read it as well if they're reading in different languages. We have the add service button, which services can come on and fill out their own form, which will then come to us to be verified. And we have an optional login function. Now, this is for what we found was we were quite split with service users around. Some people wanted a login so that they could favorite services and not keep searching for them if it's something they wanted to keep a record of. And we had others who just don't want to ever log in to anything else because there's just too many things to log into. So that is an optional function. You can use the website without that function, and you can use it with. It might be useful for professionals who are signposting regularly to services just to have those there as well. We also have, you can search by category. So lots of different categories. These were agreed. We didn't go sort of diagnosis specific just because there would be too many, and people found that they weren't sure where they would fit in. So we've gone a bit broader here as well. There's a link to the CYP Best for You service, which is the same because this is the adult signposting. They would do the children and young people's one. So there's a link to them as well. We've got lots of different links in our FAQs just around different directories that people are using, because it's about people, using what's right for them as well. And what should they do if they need help right now? Loads of different things. Feel free. I'm just going to open the door and let the dog out because it's not going to stop. Just 2 seconds. My apologies. It wouldn't be so bad if he barks, but he howls, so yeah, it's interesting. So do let us know if you'd like to, if you see any FAQs that you would like listed there. If something's not quite clear, hopefully we can make that clearer in the FAQs for everyone. I'll just pop back to, so if we go into a category, so if we go into advocacy, for instance, different advocacy providers come up, so we can then pop in one of them. So the map here will function and sort of list where that's listed. And then in the service page, you have a description, who can access it, the age group, the contact information to the right, which is just a direct link that you can click on. The categories, the tags that's under, we have tags so that when you search in the original search bar, you might not be searching a category. So we've added additional tags just for different things that people were searching for. Who it's run by and Dementia Concern could come on and claim this listing, in which they would then be able to update the page and it would just be verified by us. You can then enter your location and get directions to that service just so you can know exactly where it is as well. And again, you can favorite it if it's something you want to keep, a list of, but again, very optional. I don't imagine there's going to be a huge amount of people using that, but again, it's there if needed. We also have the accessibility tab here. So, sorry, let me just do this. You can take different contrasts of the website depending on your needs, bigger text, things like making the cursor bigger, those kind of things, reading masks. So you can use that function as and when you'd like to. It also works on the mobile device. And then lastly, we also have the safe exit button. So that pops you out if it's something, you don't want other people to see that you're looking at. That was something quite keen with the service users that were keen on that. It pops you out to Google. It can't wipe your history. We can only do so much. So but that is also shared in our FAQs as well. I'm going to stop sharing and come back together. Is there any questions from anyone about the directory?
Question. What about in terms of its launch? I mean, are you actively promoting it, or are you hoping it's just going to trickle down, or do you want us as organizations to actively promote it, or is this the right time to promote it? How can we help?
Please do share. Please do share with everyone, your colleagues, anyone you're working with, service users. So it did launch just after Easter weekend, and then there was a further push by West London Trust on Mental Health Awareness Week. They kind of waited to stagger it until then before putting out their comms. So it's something you can share with everyone, use yourself. Like I said, I'll put it in the chat so you can have a little look at it. But I think it's just remembering to use it. We're all still kind of so used to paper ones. I catch myself every now and again kind of looking at something or Googling it, and then I'm thinking, oh no, I must, use that because it's just so much easier. Yeah, but please do share. Daniel,
you've got a question.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much, Rachel. It's really it's impressive, when I'm looking through it, it looks sort of something that we'll definitely be using here. I just want to know if there was something, because one of the major gaps in services at the moment is around people who have autism. There is sort of not very much of a provision at the moment in terms of care for patients who have autism and struggle with autism. And I wonder if there's something that could be added on there for people with autism. When I just tried to search just now for autism, nothing came up. So I don't know if
Okay.
there's something with the search directory that could be changed. And I appreciate what you were saying about diagnoses before, potentially not being helpful, but it is definitely something that people in the borough do struggle with in Ealing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually been mentioned before as well. So we have added autism as a tag. I think at the moment we're still uploading services, and we just don't have any perhaps that have fitted into that sort of category. But it's something we're definitely working towards. And I think the good thing about this is what you've just done is we have certain categories and tags, and there aren't many services in those categories. So we're feeding that back to the trust as well to say, you know, there's not much in here. A lot of people are searching for these things, and there's not much support there as well. So it'll be a two-pronged tool as well, where we can feed back into what services are not available. But I do take that on board, Dan, and I'll have a look and make sure they're kind of the next ones to go in if we've got those sort of ready.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thanks. Perfect.
Anyone else got a question for Rachel? No, I don't think so. Okay, well, thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you.
Amazing website. It's taken so much time putting it together, but it's great. So thank you very much indeed.
Brilliant. Thanks, Toby.
So back to you, Daniel. Welcome back. We missed you at the last meeting. Had one of your colleagues who updated us with a few things, one being that you've moved offices. So yeah, welcome back, and it'd be great if we can have an update of any new developments at Mint.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me, and I'm sorry that I think I've missed the last sort of couple of meetings actually. So and I did ask people to step in for me. I think the month before last, it wasn't possible for someone to do that. But yeah, in terms of, we've moved. We're in a new building now, so we're now sort of fully set up as 3 teams in the borough. We're doing quite well in terms of staffing in the north of the borough at the moment. But I think the Acton team has really been struggling with staffing, but certainly in this team at the moment, we have quite close to a full complement of staff. One thing that we are finding difficult at the moment is around psychology provision. I think there will be some work being done by the lead psychologist in the borough around trying to also understand what the pressures are on sort of psychology services, third sector psychology services in the borough, to make sure that people aren't sort of missing out if they need to have support at the moment. I mean, at the moment, there's like a 15-month waiting list for one-to-one therapy, which is such a long time for people, you know, and you know, 15 months, you know, especially when people feel like they need something there and then. But that's just sort of where we are at the moment, and that's a multitude of pressures. But most of all, it's because we can't really employ any psychologists at the moment. I think we've got 6 or 7 adverts out at the moment, and not very many applicants, if any at all. So that's what we're finding difficult. But no, things are good. We've settled into this building. We're doing a lot more sort of joint working with GPs now. So certainly we've been doing sort of joint assessments with GPs and working with them as well. I think things are sort of getting better in terms of our availability, in terms of people being able to contact us on the phone now. Certainly the sense is that when we had 2 teams occupying one base in Southall, the phone lines were jammed a lot of the time, and I think that's probably improved a little bit, or at least I hope it is. And we're more responsive now than we were before. But I'm also happy to take any questions or have any feedback about how sort of other services are experiencing Mint and Ealing at the moment. And if there's anything that I can do to support, always I'm here. You know, hopefully most of you have my email, but you can also email me separately, and I'll put my email in the chat as well if there are any particular issues that come up. If it's around an individual patient, then it's best to email our sort of generic inbox, which is manned all the time, 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. So I'll also put that in the chat as well. But yeah, happy to take any questions from anyone.
Steve, you've got your hand up.
Yeah. As those who attend regularly will know, I'm incapable of unmuting myself or muting myself appropriately. Apologies. An observation from a number of the teams that I manage is that whilst we, the link workers, whilst the role that they fulfill is extremely important, and it is an issue that we also had, I have to say, I've had with social subscribers in the GP surgeries, is that I don't think yet they have exactly got it nailed in terms of what is an appropriate referral to which service. And as a result of which, and it is a combination, I think, of different things, but as a result of which, we're finding that we are more and more receiving referrals for services, and I'm thinking about, for example, floating support service, but it could be other services which are not entirely, or in some cases, not remotely appropriate. But secondly, we're also not necessarily getting information which we know that referrers have. And I appreciate that probably with the GP level, the social subscribers, that's a different story in terms of how they're set up. But we're not necessarily getting what is quite important information about people's level of needs or level of risk in terms of mental health. And I do think that's just a question about familiarity, because I know when the social subscribers started and I spoke to them, they didn't really know who they were even going to be signposting those referrals to. But what we have done previously, and I know that my colleagues at team level are beginning to do this again, is what we have done previously is gone into the services, not just the recovery teams, but the early intervention service, and actually gone to team meetings and spent a bit of time explaining in depth what our services actually do. But it's certainly the case that we are seeing more refused referrals now than we did, say, even a year or 2 years ago. And I'm quite sure that part of the reason is that people making the referrals are not yet familiar enough with the services they're referring in to make appropriate referrals, or to get it right every time, perhaps I should say. But I also have a small concern that the people making the referrals are not the people who are necessarily regularly working with the people they're referring. So therefore, sometimes information that might be helpful isn't included within the referral. I don't hope that makes sense.
Oh, thank you so much. That makes really good sense. So what is it possible for maybe you to send me some sort of examples of those cases so that I can look over them and understand where we're going wrong? I can
certainly ask the area teams to do that. And as I say, we're more than happy to come along and talk to the link workers fantastic. Or the team en masse. That's not a problem.
Yeah, we'd love that. We would absolutely love that. So why don't we catch up outside of this meeting, and I can maybe send you some dates through, and then you let me know whether you'd be able to come along and sort of sit with us for,
Sure. Well, I'll contact and I think maybe not just the housing support service, maybe our IPS service as well. Get them to come along together.
Yeah.
Because again, that's a service which you could usefully be referring people into. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll drop you an email now, and we'll sort something out. But thank you. Yeah, we'll try to get things flowing properly.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that's it's not unique to your link workers. It's something the social prescribers have gone through the similar sort of process. And once people have the knowledge, it shouldn't be as big an issue. But we're more than happy to revisit, because it's actually a while since we've come to see you and refreshed your memory. And I know you're like us; you've had a big turnover in staff, so the same people we spoke to however many years ago are probably not around.
Yeah, and we've got a nice new building now, and we've got really nice coffee here.
So are you? Sorry, I missed a bit there. I had a bit of noise in my ear. Are you where you said you were going to be, which is Grand Union Village?
We're here now. We finally moved in after all this time.
You must be very happy about that.
And stressed. Yeah, I am. Thanks.
Cool. Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Carl. Cheers.
Oh, sorry guys, I think Toby just dropped out. I think he's
Sorry.
just coming back in.
Dodgy internet today. I've turned off my camera as well to try and make it run a bit more smoothly. So sorry, I missed the last bit of that. But are there any more questions for Dan? No, I don't think so. Okay, well, thanks very much, Dan. It's good to get an update, and hopefully, yeah, you can have some more conversations with Steve, and it'll be great. Maybe if you and Steve can come back to the next meeting and just discuss what you give an overview of what you two have discussed, because it might kind of help everyone else as well. So that would be great. So now we're going to move on to an update about Mindspace, and Anya has kindly agreed to give an update on Keely's behalf. So I've been hearing some great things from service users about Mindspace, which is based at the Lido Centre, because we're based in West Ealing Library, just around the corner. So yeah, we're often telling people about what great service it is. But yeah, Anya, if you could just give us an update on, it'd be great to know what sort of numbers of people you're seeing and just generally how it's all going.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. And as Toby said, I'm filling in for Keely as she's at a professionals meeting. Are you okay if I share my screen?
Of course.
Okay, so this is Keely's fab presentation. So I'll just share this here. So as many of you probably know, sort of why Safe Space opened was because there were quite a few people, you know, presenting inappropriately to GPs or the A&E department, and that has a kind of twofold problem where one, the client isn't really getting the support they sort of need, and two, you know, the NHS is sort of inundated and it has significant costs on that front. So the reason Safe Space really opened was to fill that gap and provide an environment where people can come, receive sort of appropriate support to de-escalate a crisis. And that could be over the phone, you know, coming in, or also a virtual appointment. So the service is open from 5 to 10:30 p.m. and we sort of stay on site till 11:30 just in case of emergencies. And there is one space in every borough. So as you said, we're based in the Lido Centre in Ealing. So clients sort of come in, they see a support worker or a team manager, such as myself, and they, you know, they usually get offered a coffee, tea, really good biscuits, I have to say. And we sort of kind of meet them in the middle to see kind of what they're looking for, what we can provide. And if they're not kind of right for our service, then we can signpost them elsewhere. So this is a kind of nice summary of what to expect when you send a client to Safe Space. So after the intervention, it sort of doesn't stop there. And we always follow up with the client. And, you know, again, like I said, if they're not right for our service, we'll always try to signpost them elsewhere. That would be sort of more appropriate for them. And we also work really closely with the CAT team, SPA, and Min, who have been really, really great in supporting us when there is an incident and we need to escalate. So we host a lot of planned activities, and there are quite a few things to do. You know, we try to be very adaptable and inclusive, where sometimes people come in and talking to them is, I mean, talking to someone is quite unfamiliar. So again, sort of meeting them in the middle, playing a game with them, doing some drawing. We're now doing quite a few group activities like board games, puzzles. We've just hosted a creative writing group in Ealing as well, which is really positive. And that's, again, got quite good feedback. So the space sort of looks like this. And when you come in Ealing, you sort of see that massive cupboard of different kinds of activities. So if it is a bit uncomfortable speaking to someone straight away, that always helps to ease someone into you know, speaking about the crisis they're experiencing. So an example of a case study who came in, they previously had 3 A&E attendances in the past month for suicidal attempts. They came in for 3 appointments a week, and we were sort of supporting them over the period of a month, and did a lot of activities on safety planning, triggers, sort of future planning. And it was really great because we worked alongside the NHS mental health teams. We're able to also provide support for her father, who was a carer for her. So that was really useful, again, going just beyond the crisis and going beyond just that moment. And I think the quote sort of really sums it up, that, you know, we're really compassionate and try to follow up as much as possible in terms of signposting this client in particular when they moved to a different city to kind of services they could use there. In terms of the last quarter report, which Keely wrote, we had 179 new referrals, 1,209 sessions across 302 visitors. So on average, that's sort of 6 sessions per visitor. 84% of visitors reported a reduction in crisis, which is really positive. So that's a 38 reduction per client. And 99% of visitors avoided A&E. And I think that's a really, really amazing stat for us, because that's sort of the reason we opened in the first place. And that's exactly the gap we're trying to kind of be in. So I think that's a really, really great statistic on how well the space is actually doing. And again, most importantly, 96% of visitors said they would recommend us. And in terms of who can access our service, the client needs to be over 18, live in one of the boroughs that they're attending. So if they're going to the Ealing safe space, they need to have a postcode in the Ealing kind of vicinity, and they sort of need to be experiencing or nearing a mental health crisis. But we also welcome carers. I think a lot of the work we've done this quarter as well has been debunking actually, you know, what constitutes a crisis, because sometimes that word can be quite overwhelming in terms of, okay, what does that actually mean? Am I allowed to access the service? So we've done some sort of social media dissemination of, you know, it looks different for everyone. It might be to do with work, it might be housing, money, might be drug use, might be suicidal thoughts, feeling anxious, and so on. So again, we have 3 locations, and in terms of referring, we're open 5 to 7 p.m. for drop-ins. So you can sort of suggest to your client that they drop in and come and see us. They don't need to book or call or anything, and we can get them onboarded should they consent to kind of participate in our service. And alternatively, you can submit a referral form. That could be a self-referral via our website, or you can kind of email one of the whatever appropriate inbox client. And I think in terms of Ealing specific updates, we've had 73 new referrals in the last quarter. Ealing is the busiest site. I am really grateful to be able to work there, but some days the phone doesn't stop ringing, which I think is a really great sign of sort of, you know, how people are making use of the service and finding it quite useful as well. And as I said, we've introduced kind of weekly workshops looking at kind of preventing further crises in a group setting. So one of our amazing support workers and volunteers run a creative writing workshop every Tuesday, and we're looking at kind of mindful painting as well. Really recently, we did a joint workshop for Mental Health Awareness Week with Mint, and we did that virtually and in person. And we're doing sort of a lot of mass awareness this quarter. So I don't know if you know, but we've now launched Safe Space in the emergency departments in these 3 hospitals. So the sort of Mind, Safe Space, ED practitioners work really close with the LPS teams that don't sort of require clinical intervention, and they sort of do similar things we do in the community. So a kind of classic pathway would be, you know, working with the LPS teams, as I said. If they're kind of low to moderate and they don't need a clinical intervention, then the ED practitioner will take over. They'll sort of do their de-escalation, psychoeducation within a specific time frame. And then if it needs to be escalated, you know, they'll work with sort of CAT, SPA, the LPS team as well, and kind of signpost to their Mint team as well if they have one. And a lot of the time now, what we're seeing is the Safe Space ED team will also refer to the community. So when that person leaves the hospital, they can already have an appointment made with the community. So they sort of get signposted to somewhere to go as well. But yeah, that is the end of the update. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks very much, Anya. Really interesting. Yeah, I was quite surprised that Ealing is the busiest site. Yeah, I wonder, thinking is it demographics, or is it to do with kind of word has got out, or people know how easy, or is it kind of people spreading the word? Be really interesting to know why Ealing is the busiest. Yeah. Has anyone got any questions for Anya? Just going to scroll around, just check, see if we've got any hands up. No, I don't think so, but it looks really great as well. I was really struck by how nice it looked inside, because yeah, I know the building quite well because we used to be based in the Lido Centre, and it looked very different. So it sounds great and really innovative in the techniques. I like the way, using board games and creative writing, and I didn't actually know that you've actually got a footprint in the hospitals as well. So that's all really good. Brilliant work. Really impressed. Just check there's no questions. And I also know that Mind it's in the pipeline to open a similar service for younger people. So that would be really good when that opens too. So
Definitely.
Great. Okay, we're now going to move on to our next presenter, and it is Marissa from A2 Dominion, and she's going to be talking about a new online wellbeing course. So hi Marissa, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you. Thank you everyone for having me. So I'm Marissa, I work for A2 Dominion, but I'm doing this presentation on behalf of AMP, AM Partnership Group. So I'm just going to share my screen. Bear with me one moment. So thank you guys. So basically this is a new project that's starting next month. It's been funded by NHS West London and Ealing Council. I'll just go on and tell you about them. Oh, maybe not. So basically they're a new organisation. They've been running for about a year and been volunteering in the community for about the last 2 years. They are all about promoting the well-being and health of young people and women. And they do it through CBT techniques and kind of a more mindfulness exercise. Basically what they do before they actually start any program, they go out into the community and see what are the needs within that community. And they're really good at engaging young people or whatever their program is that they're focused in on, and kind of getting what is it that you need to, look at, what is your desires, what are your ambitions, and then they focus on that and tailor each program to kind of encompass what that community is needing or wanting. So yeah, they say they encourage the authentic you, and all staff are DBS, enhanced DBS checked. They have social care, mental health, so I've got all my notes. They are qualified in domestic violence, CBT, they're all youth mentors and health practitioners, and have mental health care for adults and young people. So quite a lot. So they've delivered quite a few different programs in the last year. All of them are around mental health and wellbeing support. They've done a few corporate wellbeing days in some other organisations, and they look at everything. So there's one here where they've looked at hoarding care. So looking at people who suffer with compulsive hoarding disorder and looking at behind the scenes, why is it that they're doing that? What is their need? How can they improve? How can they improve themselves? And kind of that whole real a support system. They don't just do this workshop or work with people on a one-to-one basis and leave them. They follow through to make sure that, whether it is that they've been signposted now to other services or the GPs, or they've actually got the help that they need after they've utilized their courses. So they've been sponsored by, as you can see, an array of different organizations. And so I'll just tell you about the program that they're delivering. And by the way, I have their flyer. It looks amazing. So if anyone is interested, I can pop you an email, or I can send it to Toby and you can pass that on to anyone. But yeah, so they look at helping for this program 16 to 24-year-olds in Ealing. The program is building on resilience and self-esteem and confidence and self-love. And they want to improve on positive coping mechanisms. So it's positive stuff that they can do to enhance their well-being. And that could be anything from anxiety, anger issues, their self-confidence, and reducing negative behavior or negative attitudes, and that whole believing in themselves. So their program pathway is a 6 weeks program, which starts on the 20th of June. So these programs are going to be, there's going to be 6 digital ones, which would be for everyone in Ealing, anyone who can access those. And there's also going to be face-to-face sessions, which are going to be held in the Havelock Centre. And this is like a bolt-on to, they've got a youth hub in the Havelock Centre, which I believe runs every night, Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday. And they're actually bolting onto that. So they've already gone there, they've spoken to the young people, seen what it is that they, what are their needs, what are their concerns, what are their worries. And they've spoken to them. So they've developed a program which will benefit them. So that will be on a face-to-face. So anyone who can obviously get to the Havelock Centre for a face-to-face session, that they'll be able to be there every Wednesday. Each young person will benefit from a one-to-one assessment beforehand. And as I said, through the program, they will talk to them individually outside of the group sessions. So each session will be done like group CBT. But they will have a one-to-one, they will have a follow-up afterwards. So after the 6 weeks, they will also be contacted and make sure that they're on the right track, the progress if they've fallen off, helping them to get back on and helping them just kind of manage certain things in their life. So who will benefit? Anyone age 16 to 24, young people who are experiencing stress, low self-esteem or low mood, and just need some confidence, some boosting and building their resilience. And again, yeah, if any one of you know any young people or any other organisations who can help signpost to this, it would be absolutely fantastic. So any questions? Sorry if I ran through that really fast. I do talk
Marissa.
Super fast.
Irene, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I was wondering, we offer mental health befriending to people with a mental health problem in the borough of Ealing, and our clients are 18 and up. Yeah. I have a client who would be perfect for this, but he just turned 25. I was wondering.
I don't think that would matter.
That wouldn't matter? Wonderful.
No, I think it can be from, I think, 25 and down to 16. Obviously, if he's 25, I think that they tailor it slightly different. So it might be that he needs a bit more of a one-to-one, because maybe some things are geared at 16-year-olds. So I think they're really bespoke and really tailor it to the need of their clients.
Wonderful. Do you have a link so I can make a referral for him?
I have.
Yeah, I've got the flyer, and I'll be sending that around.
Oh, wonderful.
That's got all the contact details, hasn't it, for referrals? So
yeah.
How, Marisa, how long does it usually take, or do you guys have very long waiting lists, or what would be the approximate waiting time?
From what I understand, they've only just started promoting, so they have potentially up to 60 spaces on each course. So it just depends of first come, first serve. But however, from what I understand, that they are trying to seek more funding to be able to deliver this in other and more face-to-face in other sections of Ealing. So which would be absolutely amazing.
Yes, Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Marissa? No, I don't think so. Well, thank you very much. It sounds really interesting program, and it sounds like they've got a very wide skill set in terms of the different areas they can support with. So it sounds really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go over to another Daniel. This Daniel is from Ealing Health Watch, and he's new to Health Watch, and I had some interesting conversations with him the other week. And so I invited him just to come and say hi to everyone and talk a little bit about his background. So over to you, Daniel.
Oh, thank you very much. I saw on the sheet that it says my vision. That's probably too aggressive or robust. Just wanted to introduce myself. So I've been at Health Watch Ealing now for a month and a half. If you're not aware, Health Watch Ealing kind of serves as a patient voice run privately out of the council. The idea is that we visit GPs, hospitals, or any other kind of healthcare service, create feedback presentations, and kind of report that to Northwest London, as well as the local politicians and councillors in the area, to try to hopefully raise issues that need to be confronted, adjusted, or improved. I have a little bit of background in mental health myself. I currently split my time between Health Watch Ealing and I work for Richmond Mines Crisis Service, the recovery hub. Starting at Health Watch, it's very clear that we have a space in our support and who we talk to, and that space is mental health. We simply are currently not reaching out to enough people who are simply accessing mental health services, whether that be in the community or through the NHS. And it's a gap that I would really love to fill. Ideally, working with some of you, getting access to who you guys work with, who you support, who you advocate for, would be kind of just the start. I have to admit, this is very much an initial introduction, just saying Health Watch is interested. We feel it's incredibly important, and we would love to work with you guys and kind of hopefully provide useful feedback, as well as make sure that the issues, the challenges that you face, you can have another advocate or supporter who's fighting in your corner for you. It's our job and our hope that we can create a more robust and responsive mental health service throughout Ealing. And any way we can do that, or any way you guys feel like we could help, I'd love to be part of that and reached out to. I'm happy, Toby, if you want to kind of send around my email. If anyone would love a chat or kind of a further talk, I'm more than happy to do that. We welcome the opportunity. And really, yeah, just kind of be there for those you work with and hopefully aid in improving the services. And that conversation and what that looks like going forward, we can get creative with it, and hopefully we are hopeful. So thank you very much for you guys' time. Appreciate it.
That's great. Thanks, Daniel. Anyone got any questions for Daniel at this stage? No? And of course, you're very welcome anytime to chat to everyone about if you need any more insight anytime, and you're always very welcome on this forum. So we look forward to seeing you more in the future.
No, the plan is definitely to make the mental health forum a regular visit. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Okay, now we're going to go over to Linda. She's got lots to talk about, which is great. More sorts of interesting research. One about carers, research to do with carers and resources for them. So over to you, Linda, and you've got lots and lots of time, so don't worry, you can chat away.
Lovely, thanks Toby, and hi everybody. I've just got a few slides to share to tell you about the work we've been doing, so just bear with me. Okay, great. There. Okay, so I'm Linda from Future Bright. And I'm working with West London Trust to look at how they currently engage with their service users and carers. So we're doing a big piece of work around that. And we're also doing a second piece of work, which is looking at working with the Trust and the Carers Council to think about developing a carers register. So I'm just going to go over give you an update on the review so far, and get any thoughts and questions, and then I'll move on to the carers register bit. Okay, so this slide is just really to give you a bit of an overview of the kind of phases we've been going through. So we've completed, if you look on the left-hand side, what we're calling the discovery phase. And that was really having lots of conversations, lots of listening, one-to-ones. We came to this, we've come to Toby, your forum before. We did a desk review of a lot of things like terms of reference and strategies, to really build up our kind of insight about what's happening in terms of service user and carer engagement with the Trust. And then from that, lots of sort of themes started emerging. So what we're currently doing is what we're calling collective sense making. That sounds very grand, but it's really just to test some of the assumptions that have come through and validate those. And so we're using a series of workshops to do that. And the next one is on the 7th of June. So I will send the invite out for you, anybody that'd like to attend. And during that time, we're working through the themes, and we're really thinking about where the important priority actions are. So as I said, the last workshop's on the 7th of June. And after that, then we'll be moving on to the sort of planning stage. So what we don't want to do is do another review that then just sits in a report on a shelf. We really want to have something that the Trust will act on. So middle to end of June, then we'll be developing that plan of action that we can give to the Trust and they can take forward. So the things that are coming through, there's been lots of conversations around the structure, infrastructure, governance. So there's lots of different meetings that the Trust run to engage with service users and carers, but some of them can be quite clunky and sort of the agendas are so full that there's no space to have a conversation. And then also there's different tools for engagement. So meetings are all well and good for some people, but some people don't like meetings. So, you know, what other tools the Trust use? And we've had lots of conversations around that. And that feeds into the diversity and representation. So if you want to reach diverse audiences, you need to have diverse means to do that. So we've been looking at those kind of things. And then things around culture and leadership within the organization. So looking at the approach, making engagement everybody's business. But to do that, we need to have a really enabled workforce. So we're currently looking at things like that and thinking, what does that look like practically? But really strong, genuine commitment to engagement is coming through from all of the people that we've spoken within the Trust. Strong leadership and also quite a substantial investment that's been put forward to do co-production and engagement. But as I said, there's a lot of meetings are really paper heavy. So there's loads of stuff on the agenda and there's very little time to have a good conversation about an issue or you know, a priority. We've also found that some sort of meetings and forums can be quite combative, you know, and of course people should challenge if services are not good or if things are not working. Of course, we all have to challenge, but you know, what we'd like to see is to maybe do it in a more collaborative way, because everybody wants good services and good outcomes, but it's just how we do that. So that's kind of some of the overarching themes. And then in a bit more detail about sort of service users and carers. So it's really thinking about how the Trust gets meaningful feedback systematically, so that areas of good practice where people have been, you know, engaging really well, but there's not much systematic feedback being used. And we've had lots of conversations around using data, but data only goes so far. So it's about how do you capture people's stories and then use that to identify where the areas are that might need improving. It goes on to the next point, you know, how do we get better at capturing service user and carer experience? How do we make it relevant for people to engage? So, you know, people are really busy. So and time is precious. So people need to see why they're engaging. If there's a piece of work to be done, what the outcomes are going to be, and that action is being taken, because we've heard quite a lot, well, you know, we get consulted and then nothing happens with you know, with the work that we've done. So what's the point? So it's about really demonstrating that, you know, all of people, everybody's voices are important, and what's being done with that is equally important. And that goes on to the next point. So there are areas where the trust are doing really good work around co-production and engagement, and that needs to be promoted more, because I think if people see that there's good work going on, it builds confidence, and it, you know, it kind of energizes people to want to get involved. Another point that came through strongly is around, you know, understanding what service users and carers might need in terms of support, not just to get involved, but, you know, additional support, you know, being involved in a meeting might trigger something. So we need some kind of wraparound support that supports people afterwards, that they can contact just in case any issues arise. And then going, you know, from my last point about, we need diverse engagement structures to engage diverse audiences, because not everybody comes to meetings, not everybody likes a workshop. So what other ways can we engage with our audiences and with our communities? So that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. The work is still ongoing. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now before we go on to the carers stuff, to get any questions, any thoughts or reflections. Anybody would like to raise anything?
Let me just have a scroll across if anyone. Any questions for Linda? No, I don't think we've got any questions just yet.
No. Okay, great. Well, I've put my contact details in chat, but I'll share them again afterwards if people want to get in touch. Okay, so just share my screen again. Okay, great. So then just moving on to the carers register, if you like. So we've had lots of conversations about what this looks like, and there's already an involvement register that the trust holds. There are already certain services that have their own carers register, but we're really going out to speak to as many people as possible to get your thoughts, because at the moment I suppose this is still in the discovery phase. And so what we've done, we did a survey, that's still live, so I'll put that in chat afterwards, just to ask a few more questions about what people might want and need. So I just wanted to share some of the things that have come through. You know, when we ask people about the types of information support they might want, things like having a contact, a service and clinical contact is really helpful, but one that responds. So quite often people get frustrated that they can't get through to the contact that they have for the service. Carers feel really overwhelmed quite often, and so they said it'd be really helpful if somebody could reach out to them. And we've heard some really great stories of, you know, because you don't know when you're going to start being a carer, and it can be really overwhelming. So people have then reached into them and introduced themselves, and you know, it's been a bit of a lifesaver. And also to be able to speak to other carers and really knowing where they are. And then we asked, you know, what stops you from getting the information support that you might need? So people said, you know, not knowing where to look, or that there are too many places to look, not knowing the right questions to ask. And then things like lack of time, you know, people are so busy caring for their loved ones that they don't have any time, or they're just worn out. So they're kind of the things that get in the way. And I think the wellbeing portal that the lady from Mind showed us earlier is brilliant, because you've got so much information in one place. You don't have to go everywhere to search for it. When we asked about the types of information that people would want, lots of information came through, but some of the top ones were knowing about support groups for carers, so that people can sort of plug into those, other local carers, and also knowing how to raise an issue. You know, that came through as one of the top three. And then people were interested in this register of carers, so interested in people who could share their experience, people who might be in their local area, that kind of thing. So I'm going to stop talking in a minute, but I'm thinking about this register of carers, you know, what should it do? So it's going to have contact details for carers, and you know, these are a kind of series of questions, I suppose, of, you know, what if you were a carer, or thinking about how you might use it, or how people you know who are carers might use it. So it could be that carers can reach out to other carers. It could have lists by geographical location, so that carers can speak to other carers in their area, which has come through in the survey. And again, experience, so that carers can speak to others who might have experienced similar issues, or they've got loved ones with similar diagnoses. we're posing the question, could staff and others use it to identify carers around specific issues? So if there was a piece of work around developing policy or services, could it be used for that? And then should it be more than this sort of register? Could it capture skills that could be shared with others and be more of an asset register? You know, what else should it do? So I'd just like to get your thoughts really on this. How do we develop the register? What information should we be capturing? Who manages this? You know, the trust are talking about developing an engagement post that's kind of responsible for all of that. Is that where it sits? Who should have access? Is it that any carer that signs up to the register can then access all of the register? And if it is open access, how do we keep it safe? Because we will have personal details in there and we have to think about GDPR. Should it have a gatekeeper? So maybe the manager is the gatekeeper and receives requests and then fields those requests. You know, how will it be used? How do you think it should and could be used? So there's a few questions there that I'm posing to you, and you know, would welcome any of your thoughts on the work that we're doing in terms of the register.
Well, that sounds really interesting. Thanks, Linda. That sounds, yeah, it's got me thinking about the register. Anyone got any thoughts straight away they'd like to share with Linda?
Linda, it's from North West London Suicide Prevention Programme. I think your work looks really exciting and interesting. I'm just wondering, the register sounds fantastic as support, and could that be owned by the carers as well? So often, I went on a workshop with Nurture Development recently, and they said lots of money goes out to health professionals rather than to the groups we're trying to support. So, you know, could it be that there are experts by experience that are part of the carers group who would like to manage that and get paid for it, or people get paid by the hour to facilitate some of those sessions as well? And if there's any way that we can connect with you with some of the work we're doing, that'd be great. Well done.
Brilliant, thank you, Lods. And yeah, absolutely. We had a focus group yesterday evening, and some of the things that came through was around ownership. And you know, it's probably more efficient if a kind of third party managed it rather than it was an internal trust piece. So it could be a sort of community voluntary sector organisation. It could be, as you say, peer led. So I think there are lots of options around that. And also talking about volunteers, there are a lot of carer volunteers with lots of expertise. I mean, of course, being paid for their time, they should be paid for their time, but to utilise the sort of volunteers that are in the system as well to maybe help to develop that. So yeah, and I'd love to link with you after. So brilliant, thank you. Caroline.
Hi there. What an amazing idea. I really appreciate your presentation. I come across a lot of carers as a social prescriber who are at the end of their tether, and I think this is a really good avenue for them to connect. And I think, like, is it, I can't remember her name, oh, sorry, Lourdes, and like Lourdes says, I think that carers would appreciate connecting with one another. And I don't know if you've heard of the database Joy. They are a case management system, but they have like a way of connecting. And if you contact them, I'm pretty sure that they would have like a space to register all of those carers. It's I think it's a great idea, and I'm really happy that you've presented today.
Brilliant, thanks, Caroline. And yeah, another part of the conversation was around, you know, how do we find carers? And absolutely, your role is critical, I think, in you know, in identifying new carers, because you know, as you can imagine, I was a carer for my mum, and when it starts, you're so overwhelmed that you haven't got time to sort of think, who's going to help me? You know, where do I go for
exactly? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that database as well could, like you say, could have lots of information about how they can access benefits, what's going on in the community. Like, you know, like a lot of dementia patients don't actually know if there's dementia cafes and stuff like that. And so how would we, as social prescribers, refer into you? What would be the process?
So all of that is kind of in the mix at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know, welcome your thoughts. I mean, I think when so when we it depends if, you know, if we develop the register, or if a third party, whoever develops the register, whoever manages it, I think it's about being able to signpost. So I would imagine there would be somebody managing it. There would be signposting, or you connecting and referring with permission. You know, you've come across a new carer, you've got a contact who manages the register, you could put them in touch, and then they can reach out and say, we've got a carers council, or we've got a cough, if it's, you know, because it could be filtered by you know, specific diagnosis or whatever. So we've got a dementia cafe running next week, or we've got a local carers group in Ealing or Hounslow that are meeting for a whatever. You know, I know time is precious, but just knowing that those things are there sometimes, even if you don't take them all out, and knowing that someone's kind of looking out for you is you know, is part of that support. So yeah, as I said, sorry, that was a very long-winded answer.
That's okay. It's definitely needed, though. Definitely needed.
Yeah. And it's all still in the mix, but absolutely, you know, I think there is, once things have been kind of established, then it would be about making sure that everybody's aware of it, and how to sort of refer people in and share the information as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my thoughts, Linda, when you're talking was, and thinking about how stretched and short of time carers are, and got so many things going on, that my first thought was to, as part of engaging carers, is they know straight away perhaps that they can be allocated a buddy. So the first thing, as soon as they engage or go on a website or something, is know that there is a buddy, and it could be someone geographically close to them that signed up, and that's their first port of call. And then, you know, you could have people pledging to give support to their buddy, so that then frees them up. So they say, you know, as soon as you join, then you've got your buddy who will be able to support you, so you have the time to then go to meetings or explore things. And I'm just thinking, if people are given that as soon as they enter the door, then they will know that there's a lot more to explore, and you're immediately given time and support to do that. Because I imagine that is the biggest concern, first of all, that they want to investigate, they want to engage, but you know, the day-to-day pressures are just can be too much. So
brilliant. Thanks, Toby. And I love that idea of a buddy. That's great. Thank you.
But it does sound like, what's the time scale for exploring all of this? Because, you know, there could be so many more conversations and brainstorming. What's the time scale?
So it's kind of ongoing through June, and you know, lots of different conversations. So, you know, if you think of anywhere else that I could be speaking at, I'm trying to get out to as many different networks and forums as I can. And then we're sort of going to gather up, because there's lots of, as I said, we've had lots of different thinking, and depending on which group of carers I speak to or whatever, some people just want a list, an up-to-date list, so that they can, you know, invite people to their things. Other people wanted more of a skills thing, so that people can, if they have time, they can sort of share their skills and do that kind of thing. So it's still all a bit out there. And during June, then we'll be pulling that all together into a bit more of a clear sort of process, and then come back to you, have a conversation here. But if there are any other, you know, opportunities to engage, then please let me know.
It does sound like a really interesting project, and also the fact that carers are often overlooked a lot of the time, and a lot of the time that they can be doing so much and supporting so many people, and they don't even view themselves as a carer, and often they just will carry on, and sometimes until they're stretched and then they snap. They don't think straight, or they don't think at the point beforehand that they need support, or how to get that support, and they don't think of themselves a lot of the time. It's just caring for others, and sometimes, unfortunately, that's when they carry a huge load and then kind of crash, isn't it? So it's about changing the thinking of carers a lot of the time, that, you know, they are extremely valuable, and lots of people couldn't function without them, and they deserve this sort of support. So yeah, it's a great initiative.
Lovely. Thanks, Toby.
Okay. So yeah, we've whizzed through the agenda today. So all that's remaining is really just a little bit update on myself, because I am changing to a different role. People will still see me, but I will be in a different capacity because I am starting a new role. It's based with Ealing Council, and it's the integrated commissioning and working alongside Ealing CCG and the NHS. So I will be working alongside Kashmir. She's the Older Adults Commissioner at Ealing Council, and working with a lot of the other commissioners as well. Bushra, the Mental Health Commissioner, for example. So I will, you haven't seen the last of me. I'm sure I will be coming to these forums again, but in a different capacity. Because it is a great way to, I shouldn't really say that it's a great way because I've been running it. Sounds like I'm giving myself a pat on the back, but I'm not. But I will be coming along to future conversations to just talk to everyone and find out what's going on and share thoughts. But I just wanted to introduce you to Whitley, my colleague, who she's going to be taking over this forum, and she's been working alongside me for, oh God, about 4 or 5 years. She knows loads. She's very capable person, and yeah, so I'm going to leave you in the hands of Whitley, and yeah, so it will be business as usual, but it will just be Whitley running it instead of me. But I will see you all again, but in a different capacity. So thank you to everyone who said congrats. I'm really excited for the new role, and it kind of builds on what I've done already, which is really good to know that you're kind of moving, and it's going to be to the benefit really of local communities. So that's really good. So has anyone any other business before we close? I don't think so. So in that case, we get to finish early, 20 minutes early. So yeah, have a nice weekend, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future, albeit I'll be in a different role, but I look forward to chatting to you all again then.
Thank you.
See you. Thanks
Bye,
then.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.